Now, dear students, we come to stanza number 3, 4 and 5. What Keats explains or tells us in stanza number 3. Let me go through what I have observed so that you may understand it fully. In the third stanza, Keats asks the nightingale to forget what you have seen among flowers and leaves, which means that among natural objects the nightingale has not seen any illness. She has not seen any dismal scene. To Keats' students, the natural world is perfect, and time and again he talks of flowers and leaves and fragrance and nightingale, which are objects of nature, and which to Keats seem perfect, because there are no negative things in these objects of nature. That is why the poet first of all talks of nightingale and then flowers and leaves and grass and all the objects of nature he shares in this poem. She has not seen any dismal scene. The poet asks her that she has not seen fever and fret, sickness and sorrow in her world, in her own world. He further says that wherever human beings sit, they talk of their problems. There is a lot of suffering, death and disease in human world. The worldly life is full of sorrow, grief and regrets. Even the beauty which is liked by everyone meets an ugly end. So in this stanza, Keats shares so many things. For example, he talks of nightingale, the freedom of nightingale, the voice of nightingale, and how nightingale walks through or goes through flowers and objects of nature. Now students, we come to stanza number 4, and I will try to explain it. Again in the fourth stanza, the poet asks the nightingale not to come to the poet. The entire message of the poem indicates that the poet does not like to stay on earth, but he asks her to get away from my world of trial and tribulations. We see, students, that poet suggests nightingale not to come to him because human world is full of suffering, trials and tribulations. The poet does not want nightingale to come to him, because if nightingale comes to human world, maybe she suffers. But the poet asks her to get away from where the poet is. But asks her to get away from my world of trial and tribulations. The poet asks her that he himself will come to you, but his only vehicle will be poetry. In these lines we see that the poet mentions alcohol, or he mentions this kind of thing that intoxicates him and lifts his mind. But the poet here says that he is not going to depend on something like alcohol. He will come through his poetry. He will come to the bird with the help of his poetry. That is why he asks the poet, the nightingale, not to come to him. He will not use any artificial means like wine to reach you. The poet also appreciates the beauty of the moon when it floats across the sky and makes the poet envious. The poet further says that the earth and his personal condition are full of darkness. without hope and urge. The only hope and ray of life is the freshening air that comes from the heavens and which blows across so as to mitigate human suffering. Now we come to stanza number 5. Keats says that I see some evidences of beauty which is bestowed on branches of trees and plants. I do not feel the fragrance which is being released from flowers and plants, but at the same time I feel fragrant darkness around me. But these blessings are showered from the seasonable months, during which fragrance is being sprinkled on grass and trees around me. I also see some pastoral plants which are coming of age. New flowers and leaves blossom on the twigs, and honey bees move around them. Soon flowers will be full of dew, and thus a new era of mirth will start. The summer season is seen as full of light, flowers, and fragrance. The bees and beetles now fly around, showing that a new life has penetrated in the dead leaves.